All right, let's get right into it. For just about any organization out there, governance, risk, and compliance, GRC for short, is a huge headache. It's usually this manual, reactive mess. But what if? What if you could flip that and turn it from a burden into an automated, intelligent line of defense? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore.
See, the old way of doing GRC is kind of like driving while only looking in the rearview mirror. You're managing risks after they've already become a problem. We're about to look at a fundamental shift here, moving past that passive record keeping to an active AI-first ecosystem that actually anticipates and acts.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about why the old way is so broken. Then we'll introduce this new philosophy called closed-loop governance. After that, we'll actually follow a single risk through the entire system, see how insights become real actions, and finally, look at the big payoff, achieving total visibility.
Okay, so first things first. To really appreciate the solution, you have to understand the problem. So let's take a look at the chaos of old-school GRC.
On the one hand, you've got the old world. Data is just trapped everywhere, everything's a manual process, and when an audit pops up, it's this mad dash, this frantic scramble through a million different spreadsheets. Now look at the other side. This is a single, unified ecosystem. It's got continuous monitoring, smart analysis, and it's always ready for an audit. It's a deliberate shift from total chaos to total control. So how do you actually make that leap? Well, it takes more than just some shiny new software. It really demands a completely new philosophy for how you even think about and handle risk. And that brings us to this core concept of a closed loop. Just imagine a system where the second a risk is detected, a workflow is automatically created. And that workflow doesn't stop. That loop doesn't close until the risk is completely resolved and documented. It means nothing, and I mean nothing, can fall through the cracks. Now, the heart of all this intelligence is this really unique dual agent setup. Think of it like this. First, every single piece of data goes through ethos, which acts as the conscience. It's checking for logic and ethics. Only after it passes that check does it go to Omni, the assessor, which scans for actual vulnerabilities. What that really means is that ethics isn't an afterthought here. It's the very first gate every bit of data has to pass through. Okay, let's make this real. We're going to follow the complete journey of a single risk to see how this whole ecosystem works together, from just a faint signal in some random email all the way to a fully resolved, documented action. So we're going to follow a four-step journey. It all starts with detection by Omni. Then it moves to a deep analysis in a module called PAM. Next up is a coordinated response from the incident and legal AIs, REMI and Reg. And finally, everything comes together in the Action Center for resolution. So step one is all about detection. But think about it. How in the world do you find one dangerous sentence hidden in a million emails? Well, that's Omni's job. It connects to all your communications and just tirelessly monitors all that unstructured data. And it's not just looking for keywords. It actually understands context, so it can find the real threats hiding in all that noise. Right, so once a potential risk is flagged, it gets sent over to PAM, the Project Command Center, for analysis. You can think of PAM as this dedicated workspace where you kick off a specific GRC project, like getting ready for a big ISO 27001 audit. You just upload your documents, and then you deploy these specialized AI bots to do all the heavy lifting. And this is where the magic really happens. You don't just have one generic AI. You have a whole team of specialists on call. There's an AI auditing bot to manage audits, a policy gap analyst that can check you against basically any standard, NIST, GDPR, you name it, and there's even a legal document writer to draft up contracts. It's targeted expertise ready to go in an instant. Now for the response. If a risk blows up into a full-blown incident, REMI AI takes over. It manages the entire life cycle, from logging the event all the way to tracking the financial impact. But its most powerful trick is this AI-driven 5 whys methodology. It just relentlessly keeps asking why, to dig past the symptoms and find the true root cause, making sure that same problem doesn't happen again. And for the legal side of things, you've got Reg AI. So while REME is handling the operational side of the incident, Reg acts as your go-to legal advisor. If an incident has regulatory implications, Reg figures out what you need to report and where. For instance, does this breach mean you have to notify regulators under GDPR in Europe, or maybe POPIA down in South Africa? Reg gives you the answer. So we've detected a risk, we've analyzed it, and we've planned our response. But look, all that intelligence is pretty useless if it doesn't lead to actual action. And that brings us to the operational heart of this whole ecosystem. The Action Center is where everything comes together. I want you to think of it like a funnel. Risks from Omni, recommendations from the bots and PAM, improvements from Remy, legal findings from Reg, they all get poured into this one central hub. And the result? Every single insight is turned into a concrete, trackable action item. Nothing gets messed. And inside the Action Center, you get total control. You can manage everything visually on a Kanban board. Need to know where a task came from? No problem. Every single one is tagged and links right back to the source for full context. And this is absolutely crucial for compliance. Every single status change is recorded, creating a perfect, unbreakable audit trail. We followed a risk from the ground up, all the way to resolution. So now let's zoom out and look at the final strategic payoff for the leadership team: achieving total visibility. This is where ARI AI comes into play. You can think of ARI as the strategic brain of the entire operation. It plugs into every single module: incidents, projects, legal findings, the Action Center, and it synthesizes all of that day-to-day data. It's what generates the executive reports and predictive insights that leaders need to stop just reacting and start steering the ship proactively. And this right here is the ultimate benefit: a unified data flow that makes you permanently audit-ready. An auditor can point to a single number on an executive report from REM, and you can seamlessly trace it all the way back, through the Action Center, through the incident in Remy, to the original email that Omni detected. It's a complete, unbroken chain of evidence. And this isn't just about passing audits. It's about making smarter decisions with a true, real-time view of your company's risk posture. You know, there's a quote from the source material that just absolutely nails it. It says, "This platform replaces disconnected tools with a single living ecosystem that thinks, watches, and acts." It's not about swapping one tool for another. It's about replacing a pile of static tools with a single ecosystem that's alive and working on your behalf. So, to bring it all home, the result is a massive shift from being reactive to being proactive. You can continuously detect threats in your day-to-day communications, resolve every single risk with a structured, auditable workflow, and ultimately predict future challenges because you finally have total visibility. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What if your GRC platform stopped being just a dusty system of record you only look at during an audit and instead became your most active, intelligent, and autonomous line of defense?